start, yeah. So all of the previous thoughts and discussions about this topic have always seemed to be an all or nothing affair, with the closing down of this street completely to traffic, except some early morning or late night hours or something like that. This caused a lot of pushback as far as I'm aware from the business owners who rely on Reid Street to service their buildings for deliveries and other maintenance requirements. There was a fear that no cars would mean less trade in that area as well. From my understanding, these are the main historical arguments that have always made things difficult to progress any further. So that made me think there's no reason why the street has to be completely shut to vehicles. Surely there's a way to achieve the enhanced street life and shopping experience that a greater pedestrian environment would bring without impacting the access requirements of delivering goods and services. Therefore, the concept of a shared street presented itself. Traffic calming measures such as a cobbled roadway rather than asphalt and a less defined vehicle lane creates a sense of uncertainty for the drivers and pedestrians alike. In other words, if you take away the visual cues from the drivers that say, this road belongs to me, better get out of my way, it changes the driver's mindset to, I'm driving on the pavement, I better be careful not to run everybody over. Historically, especially in Europe, this was a case where the streets were always shared between people walking and vehicles, whether they were horse-drawn and therefore much slower. An integrated street gives priority to pedestrians and vehicles and encourages equal respect to each other to occupy the same space. These are some of the slides that we've managed to just put together. These are not a final design by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a concept of what could be achieved. I try to be pretty practical in my work and mindful of cost. And the ideas that I'm proposing tonight, as far as I understand, do not have much or any real impact on street infrastructure, such as sewage lines or stormwater lines or something like that. I'm trying to do something that's simple and more cosmetic, but still achieves the same desires of a pedestrianized street that has been going around and around for 20 years. So I'm not going to wax lyrical on the benefits of the enhanced street and shopping experiences that come with increased pedestrianization. I'm sure most of you have experienced it in your travels to Europe or the US, and how it can be a great magnet for people to be social and enjoy city life. What I'm presenting here tonight is that I think we can have that same concept on Reid Street without causing the disruption to the city and the businesses to achieve it. The basic concept is to pull the northern sidewalk down to the existing center line of the road, taking over the northern parking lane and the northern driving lane. Essentially, that's it. This gives a new pedestrian pavement of almost 25 to 28 feet. That's enough space to allow for decent street cafes and seating, shade trees and other amenity spaces or kiosks or street vendors, or simply spaces for shoppers to just meet and rest. This still allows a southern driving lane, which is to be maintained to access Queen Street, albeit maybe with a cobbled road and other the shared street concepts to keep traffic speed down. It still maintains the existing southern parking lane to be used for motorcycle parking and loading zones for delivery trucks for the businesses, as well as disabled parking. The street is still fully accessible at all times with the fire services and ambulance for emergencies. Most of the storm drains are on the southern side of the street and down the hill at the Queen Street end, so I'm not proposing extending the pavement all the way down to Queen Street. It stops about where Phoenix is, and you'll see that in a slide in a minute. That is reserved for a place to, one, not mess with the stormwater drainage and cause excess cost to the city, but also provides a safe place to people to pull in, lay by, to pick up and drop off shoppers without having to mess with the lane. And I think the next sort of slides are coming up. That one got ahead of myself a bit. Yeah. So you can start to see it here, is that that's kind of outside Phoenix at the moment. So that sort of area with a different textured parking is the parking lane plus the driving lane, so there's enough space to pull in, have somebody come out of the left side of the car and exit without getting into the street or the driving lane. Reducing Reid Street to a single lane does not does give some opportunities to clean up the Burnaby Street end as well, which you'll come into in a second. I'm talking about reorganizing the Burnaby Street, Reid Street Junction as well. The city turned Burnaby Street into, between Reid and Church, into two-way traffic a few years ago. It used to be only one way, if I remember rightly. And there's a lot of confusion at the moment within drivers and people crossing the street when turning right up Burnaby from Reid. As drivers are pulling out way into the junction and crossing traffic coming down Burnaby. And I heard a rumor not too long ago that the city was thinking about putting in traffic lights at that junction. So that got my ire up as well, and sort of started me thinking about this. And you can see the southern lane would go straight through the shared street down Queen Street, but the northern lane would turn up, and reversing Burnaby Street, it becomes essentially two-way streets. We could have a raised curved medium in the middle. What that does is keep everybody on the right side of the road so they don't start drifting over. And then when you exit up on Church Street, then you're not turning against or across traffic. It's in more of a natural flow. And these are some of just the examples of techniques to use materials and less obtrusive barriers to facilitate the shared street concept without completely abandoning, the safety for the pedestrians. And finally, some photos of the enhanced pedestrianisation that we're already having in the city, even, albeit on a smaller scale, just on a single businesses, Devil's Isle, the Yoga Street opposite, where we're doing these bump outs into the parking lane already. These show that this concept is already working, people are accepting it, people are enjoying those types of spaces. Essentially, my little proposal for Reid Street is the same thing, which is a big bump out, but without ruining the traffic access completely. All right.
Most people probably can see that this is awesome. So how do we go from great concept to execution before we leave Roy House? How can we help you to see this get done? How can we help you?
Well, yeah. I certainly can't do it by myself, other than getting out there with the shovel. I think it is something that everybody should probably want to do. This is just for discussion and any momentum that we can get from this. Talk to City Hall, say that it's not an all or nothing deal. There's a way to do it.
Good evening, Geoff. I think it's a great idea. But the thing I was thinking about is, like, when I come in on a Sunday and I have to go to work, I have a hard time finding parking. So what's going to happen, like, when you implement this idea and people can't park? Are you going to build, like, new parking garages? Because are you going to eliminate a lot of parking spaces as well? So I'd like to know where we're going to park.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of spaces there that's taken up by loading zones and bike parking as well, but I'm sorry, there's not a lot of sympathy for the parking straight outside your job when there's 3 or 4 parking lots right around the corner within 5 minutes walk.
That's true, but even when I want to park in a lot, I can't even find parking spaces. Like, say around Christmas time, it's hard finding parking spaces in the city of Hamilton. So I'm just wondering, did you take that in consideration too? Are you going to build a new parking spot? I mean, I can go down to Bull's Head, of course, but when it's nighttime and I'm shopping, I don't want to walk to Bull's Head from Reid Street. So I just want to know if people don't think about those things.
All right. I hadn't thought about building a parking structure. I'd have to talk to the city about that.
Thank you.